Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War online commentary. In this particular battle, I'll be playing the Greenskins, and I'm going to be facing off against the Warriors of Chaos. So definitely going to be a good time, guys, and let's go ahead and jump right into the army composition. So against Chaos, Black Orcs are just such a good choice. They're one of my favorite kind of elite infantry units. They're immune to psychology, have extremely high weapon strength, and not the best melee defensive stats, but again, they're very heavily armored, so sometimes that can make up for that. So I have 4 groups of Black Orcs here. I have the Rusty Arrows, who I think should be an auto-include in any Greenskin army. These guys are just so darn good. Great for focusing down heroic units. You know, if you have Black Orcs fighting against, elite infantry, you can have them sunder their armor, and then the Black Orcs, although they have armor piercing, so that might not be the best use, but, for example, if you have the Rusty Arrows and you're shooting at the Peak Gate Guard, and then that'll make, low-tier missile troops like Goblin Archers much more effective. So very, very cool unit. I also have 2 groups of Orc Boy Biggins here, who I think are essential in this matchup. Very, very good. And, but again, there are Chaos builds like you guys saw in my previous game where, you just bring Halberdiers and you don't bring Cav. But I've been playing a lot of games lately against Chaos players who bring Manticores, who bring Chaos Knights, those type of things. So these guys do have anti-large, so they're going to do pretty good against those aforementioned units. So definitely a fan of these guys. Also have a single Doom Diver Catapult. I always like to bring one, or sometimes bring one and mix it up a little bit. And they do pretty good at focusing down a multitude of targets. They're just so accurate. You can use them against elite infantry, against fodder. You can even use them against Chaos Knights. And even if the Chaos Knights are running in a lateral pattern, kind of avoiding your traditional fire, the Doom Divers seem to follow them pretty well and make good contact. So I just love the utility of this unit. As far as leadership goes, I have an Orc War Boss, I have 2 Goblin Big Bosses, and then I also have an Orc Shaman over here. So they're all riding their pigs. So again, Chaos has been bringing a lot of Manticores. So the Chaos Manticore Goon Squad is really scary. If they bring 3 Manticores, a Chaos Lord, and a Fire Sorcerer, they can burst down your heroic units. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was mounted, everyone had potions, and I would be ready to go. So that's pretty much it for my army. So my opponent, he actually has a pretty cool army himself. He has some Chaos Marauders here, which aren't bad, decent fodder. In the secondary line, he has the armor piercing equivalent. So this is pretty good. These guys will, with their higher melee defense, will take the initial beating, and then these guys will come in and hopefully pierce some armor. So to support these fodder units, he does have some Chaos Warriors with great weapons. He has the Lore of Fire, which is a very, very good choice, and you can see the Doom Divers already making some pretty good contact with these aspiring champs, though. I think this guy will be getting back up because they still have 12 models. And it looks like over here, this is going to be the bulk of his army. So he has a very strong Cav force. He has some Chaos Knights with Lances. He has some Chaos Knights here, some traditional ones, and some more traditional ones. So the Chaos Knights with Lances, obviously, as their title indicates, are shock Cav. So they're going to come in, deal an initial burst, and then these guys are much better for sustained combat. You can see they actually have 42 melee attack and 50 melee defense compared to the, let's go ahead and take a look at the Orc Boy Biggins. So do they really only have 20 melee attack? Is that for real? I guess that is. So 20 melee attack and 18 melee defense, so a substantially higher stat difference between those 2 units. And these guys also have 38 weapon strength to the 30 of these guys. But my guys do have armor piercing as well as anti-large. So there's some gives and takes there, so we will see how this goes. So let's have some fun, guys, and hopefully this will be a good one. So what's nice about this particular matchup, though, is I do have these kind of fodder heroic units, like the Goblin Big Bosses, who you can send in to break the charge. And you can see on his little wolf mount, he's going to be pretty darn fast. So my opponent tries to kind of split things up, so I send one group after this group of the Chaos Knights with Lances, and I simply pull them back as soon as he retreats, and we're going to get a pretty good little engagement here. And right as the engagement happens, I do use the Fists of Gork, which is going to be pretty strong, but he does get a nice counter charge, and I'm taking a lot of damage as well. And I try to meet his charge with my charge, though the Lances are going to be pretty scary here, and you can see I take quite a bit of shock damage initially. So we're having a pretty pitched fight here. I do have the Foot of Gork, or Fist of Gork, excuse me, and other kind of augmentations that my opponent does not have. So you can see one group of his Chaos Knights is already down to 22 models and is taking substantial shock damage, whereas my Orc Boy Biggins are down to 24. So it's a pretty pitched type battle here, but I do have my Orc War Boss and other units, and also you can see that my Goblin Goons over here are firing in and are doing pretty good damage, sundering the armor of these units and definitely helping to kind of break their leadership, which they're down to 9 right now, actually, so very pitched. In the front line, and Black Orcs they're just such a strong unit, even against lightly armored units like this. They're so sturdy that they can usually stay the course, to be honest. And I do have 4 groups, and he only has 2 groups of Chaos Warriors, which are a slightly inferior kind of elite infantry unit. So I think the Black Orcs are going to be in pretty good shape, and a lot of this battle is going to come down to the Cav warfare. So thankfully I was able to break his Chaos Knights with Lances here, and he did break both of my Orc Boy Biggins, but they were able to come back, which is huge. And I do have those 4 heroic units in there, so I was feeling pretty good. And now that they're coming back in, and you can see the Doom Divers and arrows, very stylistic of the Greenskins and kind of the way they roll, just shooting into their own units and not caring much. But it's going pretty well for me, and it looks like the Chaos mobile forces have been destroyed for now. In the front line, though, he is kind of regrouping. He has a fairly healthy group of Chaos Warriors here. He also has his Chaos Lord, who was in the battle over there. He did have to use his potion, though, because he took a huge beating from my 2 Goblin Big Bosses, but looks like my opponent is reforming ranks here and also taking Doom Diver fire. I'm telling you, even against armored units, Doom Divers are so good. Let's see if we make some good contact here. Yeah, it does quite a bit of HP damage. You guys saw that, so huge fan of that unit. So over here, the Black Orcs are taking a bit of a beating, but despite only being at 40 models, they're still pretty confident, which is great. And over here, the Black Orcs are fighting against Aspiring Champs, which is a really bad matchup for the Aspiring Champs, who don't have your, traditional armor piercing. So, these guys are in for, a good time. And also, he didn't bring Mancores, but if he did, the fact that these guys are immune to Psychology would have been really, really strong, whereas Biggins are not. But again, I like Biggins in the Chaos matchup. I just decided not to bring them today. So over here, everything's pretty squared away, but I did actually get a Foot of Gork, and I wish I had been able to show that to you guys. But I did get a Foot of Gork on his Chaos Warriors here, and you can see this big footprint. Oh, I love that. I've never noticed that before. It actually leaves a footprint, but it did some pretty serious damage, because you guys saw these guys were like almost full health when the battle started, and now they're down to 40 models, and they are indeed broken. So my Orc Boar Boy Biggins are getting in there. They got a nice little charge with my other heroic units, but now they are indeed going to pull out. And unfortunately, he did get some units back from route who were able to charge in and kind of punish my Goblin Archers back here, but I did pull my Cav back, and I'm getting a decent little engagement here, and I do need to finish these guys off. You can see the Gobbos just flying around, just getting knocked about, but the Black Orcs in the center were actually able to win this battle, so thankfully I was able to detach them from the main force and bring them over to fight these Chaos Warriors here. So this is going to be a tough battle, considering there are 59 models here against the 31 of the Black Orcs, but the Black Orcs, despite all that, are still confident, whereas these Chaos Warriors are only steady. So very interesting speculative thing to look at there. Over here, I do have the Goblin Big Boss and my other heroic units who are able to swarm his Chaos Lord, but my potion was packing some serious heat. He has a Potion of Toughness, Potion of Foolhardiness, which is very smart, because that means he's going to get the full value out of his heal there. And he also has the Flaming Sword of Ruin, so he's doing a little bit of damage to my heroic units. You can see he's laying the smackdown on this Goblin Big Boss. So definitely got to be careful there, but kind of one of the big points of this battle is that my melee core, these Black Orcs, was able to kind of outclass his melee core, which is going to be really big, because this is a lot of power right here. This group of Black Orcs with 36 models, 52 right here is going to be really hard to crack. And even as the Greenskins, if you do lose your leadership, Black Orcs are one of those units that will usually almost always fight to the end, so very, very happy to have these guys left. Because he did invest very heavily in that Cav battle, and he still has some fighting, but at the end of the day, I would say the Orc Boar Boy Biggins, for how little I spent on them, definitely outclassed those Chaos Knights, so definitely happy about that situation. So now the Black Orcs are coming in, led by the Orc Shaman. He's coming in here ready to party, and it looks like he's casting some sort of buff here, and I think he has the Fist of Gork here, so I think I meant to cast that on the Black Orcs, but I accidentally only got my Orc War Boss, which, it's not the end of the world. It's a pretty decent situation, because he's a strong combatant himself, and now has 487 weapon strength, so very good there. My opponent actually does rout off my Orc Shaman, who is taking a beating, and the Chaos Warriors are still putting up a good fight. They have the Cascading Fire Cloak in here that just actually wore off, but they're doing pretty solid. He has his Chaos Lord here. It looks like he has some Chaos Warriors with great weapons left, and let's see, another group of Chaos Warriors here, and he does have some Marauders who are kind of routed off over there, and they may come back, but I was using the Doom Diver to keep those guys off the battlefield. And I do have the Goblin Rusty Arrows here, and they're doing a pretty good job just firing at these Cav and other units, and I was trying to actually, I think, pick off that Chaos Sorcerer and do some damage there, but I don't mind hitting my own units a little bit, because at this point, when you are in an advantageous situation like this, I think you can usually get away with a little atrocious combat where, you're sacrificing an equivocal amount of units for their units, because, again, you just need to break even to win at that point. So I was just shooting at these guys, and it looks like it was enough to break them, because having their armor sunder, they were definitely taking a beating there. So the Chaos Lord does use a Scroll of Shielding, which is pretty neat. Maybe should have used it earlier, but again, I guess he was probably fine. He still had his potions and everything. So he does use that Scroll of Shielding there, and is able to kind of last a little bit longer, but unfortunately for him, he does break. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's left here. So he does have this Chaos Sorcerer, the Lore of Fire back here fighting, and thankfully one of my Goblin Big Bosses came back from route, but he looks like he's just chilling over here watching. Didn't want to get involved, and my other Goblin Big Boss also came back from route, so I was pretty happy, and definitely coming back in the fourth quarter, but you can see all the Gobbos over here just prison shanking this guy, and sends him running off the battlefield. So very, very well played there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakdown. So the Black Orcs, obviously MVPs, such a good unit. Definitely one of my favorite elite infantry, as I stated earlier. I really like to use them, and they're very cost effective in my opinion. Whereas Chosen, I think, are obviously very good too, but they're pretty expensive. But I suppose it's not that much more. But the Rusty Arrows and these guys did a pretty good job helping win that Chaos Knight battle. I wasn't able to really show you guys that, but while my Orc Boars were fighting the Chaos Knights, these guys just had an open volley on one of those groups there, and were really, really turning the tide of that battle. So The big boss is pretty good for, taking that damage from his cav, and I would say that was one of the big advantages. If I didn't have these goblin big bosses in this cav warfare, I honestly think he would have won that, and then probably would have been able to run over my back line and rear charge my black orcs, and things could have gone very differently from there. So anyways, really well played to my opponent, Sterling Archer. I look forward to seeing you again on ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed that Greenskin cast. Have an excellent night, and take care.